Examination quality assurance body Umalusis says the integrity of the matric exams has to be protected. The Department of Education has announced that Maths Paper 2 and Physical Science Paper 2 will have to be rewritten after they were leaked. Joining us for more on this conversation today is Umalusi CEO, Dr. Mafu Rakometsi. Good evening, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Firstly, is there absolutely no other way outside of this rewrite to ensure the credibility of this exam?
The Umalusis Council has looked at this matter very carefully, and we realize that there is no other way other than to have the students rewrite these papers. What we're trying to defend is the credibility, integrity, and validity of these examinations. We want to ensure that when the students celebrate their results in February, when they'll be announced by the Honorable Minister, that there will be nobody who will come and say, mock these results and say, after all, the paper was leaked, that is why you are getting distinctions. We are protecting the system, we are protecting the individual students who have sat for these examinations.
What were some of the considerations that you and your council made in coming to this decision?
One of the considerations that we made was after receiving a report from the Director General of the Department of Basic Education, Council looked at the report carefully, and we realized that the department has not been able to complete their investigations, and that they may not be able to complete these investigations in the near future. We also noted that the full extent of the spread of the leaked papers has not been determined. Further, that the two papers have been compromised irretrievably, and that the only way to salvage the students, the only way to salvage the situation is to have these papers rewritten.
What does it mean when you say that they were compromised irretrievably?
The papers were found on social media, to be specific on WhatsApp, and they were spread across the country in all the 9 provinces. And we are not sure how many other students got these papers, because you would know that anything that is on WhatsApp can be shared widely with many people across the country and even beyond the boundaries of this country. This makes a mockery of the security of these question papers, and it affects the credibility of these examinations.
Some are of the view that the pupils here are being punished for inefficiency on the part of the Department of Basic Education by having failed to secure these exams and to prevent these leaks from happening. SATU, in its court case, is going to be arguing that you have around 200 pupils who may have had access to it before these papers were written versus the rewrite that involves over 350,000.
Look, far from it, Kathy. Far from it, there is nobody who's been punished here. The people who have to be punished are the people who leak the paper. The students who have to rewrite are not being punished. In fact, they are being protected, so that we are protecting the currency of the qualification that they'll be carrying for the rest of their lives. That nobody can mock them tomorrow and say, after all, you wrote the examinations in 2020 when the papers were leaked. So we are protecting the students. And that the papers were leaked to only 200 students is not a fact, because you and I know how quickly things spread on social media. And we've got no guarantee also whether these papers were shared telephonically, via email, and through other social media. The investigations are still going on, and they will not be completed anytime soon.
What happens if there is another leak? So if the court then finds in favor of you and says, yes, this rewrite must go ahead, what happens if there's another leak? Does that mean there'll have to be another rewrite?
If there is another leak, that leak will be dealt on the merits of the case presented to us. If there is another leak, the department will have to investigate, bring a report to Umalusi, The Executive Committee of Council under the leadership of Professor John Volmink will consider that report, and they'll map the way forward based on the merits of the report that we would have received.
So what I'm really trying to get to here is that as Umalusi, what are the kind of guarantees that you have asked or even been given by the Department of Basic Education that they've tightened up whatever measures that they needed to in order to prevent further leaks from taking place?
Umalusis has satisfied itself that the systems that the department has in place tamper-proof. They have state-of-the-art systems to ensure that the papers are stored, printed, and transported under a safe environment. What we have found to be weak in the system is where human beings are involved. Because I'm on record as saying human beings are committed to a cause at one point, and the next moment they are acting against that cause by leaking papers and so forth and so on. So the only recommendation that I want to make to the department is that they should vet all the officials who work in examinations through our national intelligence agencies. They should check their criminal records. They should check their networks, their friends. They should check their bank balances to check that they will not be easily tempted to be involved in any sort of chicanery. That is the weakest link as far as I'm concerned. As for their systems, I found them to be working very well.
If there is a vetting process, it's unlikely it's going to take place between now and the next rewrite, which has been scheduled for a little later this month. So in the interim then, have you been given any more? Because it's one thing to say that the systems are working, it's down to human behavior. But the reality is that some of those very humans are still going to be involved this time around.
The vetting process is an elaborate process. It cannot take place within 1 week, and the officials that are involved in examinations are many. It is a very long process because they have to do research on an individual working in the examinations, get their bank statements, get their networks, interview people, look at their relatives, look at the loyalty that they have to this country in terms of patriotism. The only other reassurance that we got from the department that there's going to be no further leaks is that the DG has deployed officials to all the provinces to go and check the system and recheck their systems. That is after observing these leaks that we are talking about today. And that is giving us some comfort to say the department is doing something about the situation.
It's not just the unions that you're going to be up against. We also have individual learners that now seem to be opposing this rewrite. They believe that they have been well prepared for the first exam and that it is unfair to actually make them rewrite it. What happens if you lose this matter in the court? So what happens if there isn't a rewrite of these exams?
Well, what we have to look at, Kathy, in court is weighing the interests of those individuals who are going to apply to court against the interest of the department as an institution that has to stand and protect the interests of this country, not only in 2020, but next year. The interest of Umalusi, which has to look at the interest of quality assurance moving forward. So that we have to weigh the importance of the institutions that have to be trusted by South Africans, and just watering that down this year in 2020 because individuals feel that they are going to be inconvenienced with the rewrite. In fact, what we are trying to do with the rewrite, I want to repeat, is to protect the interests of the very students who have written these examinations, that the currency of the certificates that they carry is respected the world over. Nobody can point a finger and mock the qualification beyond 2020.
Does this mean that if the rewrite then is successfully challenged in court, Umalusi will not be giving its stamp of approval, at least in as far as those maths and science paper 2 results are concerned?
Therein lies the difficulty, Kathy. We have warned the department that these papers have compromised the credibility, validity, and integrity of the examinations. If there's no rewrite, Umalusi will reserve its right to pronounce in February, and my guess is as good as yours as to what the pronouncement is going to be. That is going to throw this country into chaos, because if we are not able to approve the maths and physical science results, the students will not be able to proceed into the world of work. They'll not be able to proceed to universities. They'll not be able to carry on with their lives. So that is the difficulty that we are sitting with, to say, how do we approve the results that we know the papers are compromised?
Let's leave it there for this evening. Dr. Mafu Rakometsi, that is the CEO of Umalusis. So there you heard it, the department being given very little choice but to go ahead then with the rewrite that is currently being challenged in court.